ncIMPACT is made possible by funding from Civic Federal Credit Union and is a public media North Carolina production in association with the University of North Carolina School of Government.
They serve their country and gain valuable life skills along the way. But veterans can sometimes hit challenges when they come home. Returning veterans have new opportunities thanks to a program in Craven County. This is ncIMPACT. I'm Anita Brown-Graham. North Carolina is home to the 4th largest military population in the United States. Our state's veterans sometimes struggle finding work when transitioning back into civilian life. Across the state, 32,000 veterans are unemployed and 48,000 live below the poverty line. In Craven County, veterans make up 10% of the population. ncIMPACT's David Hurst looks at the impact of how this community is helping veterans make the transition back to civilian life.
Make sure this thing is off.
After growing up in Wisconsin, Michael Marshall joined the Marines when he was 19 years old.
There's a flame usually involved.
For the past several years, he's been stationed at Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point, about 20 miles south of New Bern, North Carolina.
Joined to be a combat engineer, the Marine Corps decided that I would be better suited as a bulk fuel specialist, which is a fancy way of saying I pump gas. I am refuel helicopters and aircraft on Cherry Point for my 4 years. Looking forward to getting out, going back to Wisconsin to pursue a career in electromechanical engineering.
It's old school, but it still works.
Marshall is preparing for his transition into civilian life by taking part in the Tools for Advanced Manufacturing for Veterans program.
But now if you want us to bring that out.
The program is run by Craven Community College. It's a 3-week high-speed workforce transition program.
This one's gonna get cold.
Classes take place at the Volt Center, a collaborative workspace owned by the City of New Bern and the Community College.
It's a very nice change of pace because usually in the Marine Corps you get training, it's sit down, here's a PowerPoint, here's maybe a book to follow along in, and that's the way it is. And me personally, I don't learn well that way. I'm a very hands-on type of person, and today coming here to Volt Center and seeing they got the wood, some of the construction equipment set up, some of the HVAC, electrical, plumbing, it's real nice to be able to go back in and work with those. It kind of reminded me how much I enjoy doing that sort of job and that sort of labor.
Let me get you guys just come in just a little bit close because I want to show you some things on this.
The program is free for transitioning service members and qualified veterans.
The center control operates the mast.
Those who go through the program get several national certifications after the 3-week course.
There's a big push to employ veterans, but a lot of times they need that extra training to get into those positions, and that's where the community college plays a key role in getting them ready for the job market in the civilian world.
The program has graduated over 400 transitioning service members and veterans, and it's a collaboration between Craven Community College here, ECU, and Duke Energy.
If you look at rural North Carolina in particular, we're in an interesting time. We've got a lot more jobs than we have people. So we're going to have to encourage new sectors of the population to get into the workforce. The veteran population is very unique then. It offers us a much nearer term opportunity to get that technically skilled, leadership-oriented, mission-driven talent as they come out of the military directly into smart manufacturing and other careers here in the eastern part of the state.
A 2018 study reveals 8 of every 10 veterans who transition out of service will not have a job or a defined career path forward.
You run extension cords.
For Eric Auld, he's hoping the Tools for Advanced Manufacturing program will help him find a career focus.
You're kind of forced to fit in the military, whereas now I'm trying to find my place. I know that once I actually get my foot in the door and start working, doing whatever job that I'm tasked out to do, give me about a month or so, then I catch up to speed with some of the best workers on the job. How the trick lately has been actually getting my foot in the door.
In addition to on-the-job training, the program also offers classes on soft skills. Participants take career assessment tests, resume workshops, and mock interviews. Breshani Tolliver says it's helped her get ready to interview with potential employers after serving more than 8 years in the Marine Corps.
I heard a little bit about it from one of the people I work with, and they're like, you should try it out. It's opened my eyes to a lot of different things, like how to rework my resume. Wording it from the Marine Corps to civilian is totally different. Like, I'm telling more people in my shop, hey, you guys, if you don't really know what you're gonna do, even while you stay in, it's not bad to just go. It's 3 weeks, and it might introduce them to something they didn't know they enjoyed or wanted to do.
For Michael Marshall, the program has made him more confident about the transition into civilian life. He says he'll return home with not only the training, but also a new perspective into what it looks like to be out of the military and working in the civilian world.
Even just the 3 weeks I've been at this course, just the idea of talking to people who now aren't in the military and the interaction with people who work a normal 9 to 5 or whatever it is that they do, it's just kind of a reminder of, hey, there's this whole other lifestyle out there. So it's nice to see the usual day-to-day tasks that normal everyday people do.
Well, I'm joined now with Dr. Ray Statz, president of Craven Community College. Dr. Statz, you have a lot of programs here trying to help transitioning veterans. Why is this a priority?
One of the things that's very important about a community college is that, particularly a local focused college, is that you have different segments of the population that are unique to your community. With Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point, that is unique to our area. So veterans coming from the base represent a significant portion of our college population. So we focus our programs on that group of students. They're a unique group because they are largely members and families that don't come from the local area. So they come with a variety of experiences and a variety of expectations. So we tailor our programs to meet those needs. Many of them will move on to other communities. Many of them will stay our students after they leave.
How does a community as a whole benefit when they have agencies and organizations making it a priority to help transitioning veterans?
Well, you know, I'm a retired veteran myself, and one of the things that encourages a veteran to decide to stay in the community after they finish their service is how welcoming that community has been to them. That's a huge factor. So the school system, both at the primary and secondary and then higher education, availability is very, very important. Things like crime rates, but the way the community wraps its arms around those military members while they're here, even before they know whether or not they'll stay. Craven County is phenomenal at that. You won't find a community that is more integrated with its military population than this one. So from the community's perspective, we have a base of highly skilled, highly valuable, highly disciplined workers that are ready to come to work. And in an era today where there is a shortage of workers, that's a phenomenal resource to draw from, but you have to put some focus into that because you have to give them a reason to stay here versus go back to whatever community they came from or another community that maybe had a better support structure for them.
What advice would you give other community colleges if they were interested in ramping up their efforts in tackling this issue? Well,
flexibility. And learn what those unique needs are. And I think community colleges are pretty good at that because all of us, particularly here in North Carolina, we're local. So the college team spend a great deal of time understanding local needs. There are 4 colleges in our system that are host colleges for the 4 military bases that are here. And all 4 of them, there's 1 Army, 2 Marine Corps, 1 Air Force, have developed unique techniques to address the specific needs that base will need. I don't know if I could give advice that they haven't already thought of. I think all 4 of those schools and all of our neighbors who also impact those bases do a pretty good job.
When Tim Dryden moved to Craven County, he struggled to find a place where locals could enjoy craft beer. So after 22 years in the Marine Corps, he decided to open his own tap room.
Never owned a business before. I don't have a business degree, but I know how to make beer. I know how to talk about beer.
Dryden opened Brewtopia Beer Company with a friend in February of 2016. The combination tap room, brewery, and home brewing supply outlet brews 30 different beers on a rotating schedule.
We had already met at one point to decide that we wanted to kind of open a business, but neither of us are business owners, neither have business degrees, so we kind of needed we were really kind of starting from nothing.
I want you to work those 2 exercises.
They found plenty of classes and resources throughout the community geared to help veterans launch their own business.
It was a single class per week, but it really covered everything that we needed. And little bits and pieces of each one of those classes we've applied that inside of the business, and everything's worked for us.
Here you go. There's nothing wrong with that.
One of the classes Dryden took was a Boots to Business seminar on the Marine Corps Air Station in Cherry Point.
And they could be, as part of the agreement.
The 2-day course is held several times a year, and it shows veterans and active service members how to take advantage of all the resources available for those who are trying to start their own business.
Maybe trading services.
Vivian Seeker has been in the Coast Guard since 2008. She has a business degree but wanted a refresher before transitioning into the civilian world to start her own business.
A lot of it is just the basics. How do I get started? So you're taught concepts and theories and case studies, and you see people do things, and you see the pitfalls, and you see the concerns or the trepidations that people have, but it's that basic nuts and bolts. What do I need to do to get started? And this course definitely lays that out.
Right. That's right.
Wanda Bennett, a small business consultant, has been teaching the class for 3.5 years.
All right. What else might she need to use her startup capital on?
She says veterans are often successful in their entrepreneurial efforts.
They have a skill set coming out of the military that civilians don't have. They're already disciplined, they're trained, and when we talk about, when I mention just ICE and integrity and clarity and excellence, they know what that means. They breathe it every day. It's so rewarding because I have some people that reach out through LinkedIn or maybe they'll follow you somewhere else and you hear and they'll say, hey, I took that class and thank you for something, and you don't even remember what you said, but it's just so exciting to see how they turn that around.
The class is also offered to military spouses.
Right.
Ruby Ali's husband is an officer in the Navy, and she's getting ready to launch a functional wellness business.
When my husband told me, I was like, oh, can I take it? He's like, yeah, it's for military spouses as well. I was like, this is so awesome. Like, that's what I love about it, that as a spouse, we do also have these resources available to us. You have to have the confidence, of course, that's there, and then you have the education background, but then you need resources and you need support, and I think that's where this came in right now for me, which has changed a little bit. I feel more confident than I was because I was a little bit more nervous before because it's like, I feel like I'm still missing part of the puzzle, which this kind of helped put together.
What we saw in Alaska was amazing.
For Dryden, resources like Boots to Business have given him the opportunity to share his passion for craft beer with others.
We joke this is kind of our hobby job, but honestly it is. But it's just growing and growing into more and more, so we struggled sometimes to keep up with that constant growth. And keep the business moving forward.
The programs are a partnership between the Marine Corps and Craven Community College. The community college even has a satellite campus here that's walking distance from Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. Rodolfo Norris Jr. takes classes at Craven Community College's Havelock Satellite Campus and plans to graduate in November.
I grew up in a little hometown, very patriotic. Joined the Marine Corps, and my first enlistment I was an aviation mechanic. From military experience, I loved working with aircraft. You get to see the progress every day of making the repairs or doing the preventive maintenance. And since I already loved that, I decided, hey, might as well become an aviation mechanic.
He's enrolled in the Aviation Technology program and is among the first group of students to take advantage of a new state-of-the-art flight simulator.
I'm extremely excited. I've been in aviation my whole life, so this being something new, that's really untried in community college. I'm excited about the challenge of making it work.
Craven Community College is the only community college in the country with this type of flight simulator. Students can fly one of 34 different aircrafts in any kind of weather environment.
We're not jumping into a cookie cutter program already established. This is on the forefront, and a lot of people are going to be watching, so it's fun.
The simulator helps future pilots and mechanics train for an industry that's in need. A recent study by Boeing estimates a need for more than 800,000 new pilots over the next 20 years.
The demand is probably greater now than at any point in the history of aviation. There's such a deficit in both the mechanic side and the pilot side that All the schools in the country can't fill that deficit.
The simulator is also FAA approved and will give Norris Jr. the flight hours needed to graduate from the aviation management program.
I like being on the leading edge, you know, basically kind of like in the Marine Corps when we would go out to deploy, be like, hey, we're going forward, we're going to be the leaders, we're going to do this stuff and take care of, you know, whatever comes along in country. Same thing here, you know, they're bringing in the best technology so that students, when they leave this school, they have the best training they could possibly get.
So I'm joined now with Kimberly Williams, Executive Director for North Carolina for Military Employment. Kimberly, we've seen a lot about what's going on at the local level. What's happening on the statewide level when it comes to helping veterans make that transition?
Oh, great question. So North Carolina is the 4th largest Department of Defense presence in the U.S. So we have a lot of service members that are transitioning off our bases. As a matter of fact, we have about 20,000 transitioning service members every year. And we'd like to keep them here in North Carolina. So our program, North Carolina for Military Employment, NC4ME, we stood that up in 2015 out of the governor's office. It currently still is out of the governor's office, and we work directly with the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, as well as Department of Commerce, and then some private organizations and veteran service organizations. And we pull everyone together to put together a program to make sure our transitioning service members get meaningful employment across the state.
How important are the public-private partnerships and the overall collaboration when it comes to this?
Right. So that's, you know, it's paramount to our success. One of the things we realized when we started this initiative is there's over 1,000 veteran service organizations in North Carolina alone, and they're all doing great work, but it can be very confusing for our service members, and it can be certainly, when we talk about employment, very confusing for our employers. So the way that we kind of weed through that confusion or eliminate some of the noise is by putting kind of an umbrella over those organizations that do a good job. In order to do that, we have to partner with companies across the state. We have to partner with state entities like the Department of Commerce and like the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. And we have to make sure that we also partner with our military bases. So having that partnership is paramount to our success.
What's at stake if a community doesn't make this a priority?
You know, a lot of communities across the country and across our state, of course, are looking at or have organizations within their communities that don't have enough workforce. So workforce is a struggle everywhere. What we do, NC4ME, is come in and say, we've got people that are exiting our military that are high-performing candidates that can join your workforce, and we can make that connection at no cost to you, and it really, truly is an easy deliverable.
Do you face any challenges or obstacles when it comes to getting veterans connected to employers?
The only obstacle or challenge we face sometimes is the perception. So 1% of the nation's population is in the military. The other 99% don't have a clear understanding of what those individuals do in the military. So there is a perception, and I had that perception when I first started this work, honestly, is that our service members are wearing a uniform, driving a tank, shooting a gun, but the reality is they're attorneys. They do logistics, statistics, accounting, food service, travel. It's a business. The military is a business, and one of the biggest businesses in the country. And so we know if the talent in the military is a proven success in driving bottom line results for our military, they can certainly be a proven success in driving bottom line results for a company.
North Carolina for Military Employment, or NC4ME, is a comprehensive public-private partnership aimed at making North Carolina the /1 state for helping veterans find jobs. Find out how your community can get involved by visiting unctv.org/ncIMPACT. Coming up on ncIMPACT.
It's depressing. It puts you in a hole where you don't want to be. It really makes you feel like you can't accomplish things.
Those with criminal records often face barriers in finding work, housing, and transportation. We'll see how one North Carolina community has come together to support its justice-involved neighbors.
ncIMPACT is made possible by funding from Civic Federal Credit Union and is a public media North Carolina production in association with the University of North Carolina School of Government.